나이다가간 아름슨 부시양 시사카나라 시사 실크망 정람구나라 라시 빠농리 temmayamguna라 나이야 인약강.
I like the Northeast a lot. I think one of the central issues is that when I went to school, I never read Naga culture. I don't know what it is. You know the only thing I read about Naga culture when I was in school? Headhunters. That's the only thing I read, right? But that's not true because there's a Naga culture, there's a Naga history, there's a Naga tradition. But Nagas know it, nobody else in India knows it. That's a huge problem.
So some of you planning to come to Delhi for the higher studies here? Or do you have some fear to coming Delhi or Mumbai or other big city of India?
I do have a fear of racism. Like, just yesterday and day before yesterday, we visited like the India Gate and the Red Fort, and people like were looking at us, pointing at us like Chinese, Korean, Nepali.
So how did you answer them?
Should we put our Aadhaar card in our foreheads and walk to tell that we are also Indians?
There's a little bit of racism against people from the Northeast and stuff. That exists. But that's ignorance. Foolish people. So don't worry about it. And I think Northeast should be much more central in India's thinking and vision than it currently is.
In your speech in the parliament, which was yesterday, you have stated, if I'm not mistaken, neither the UPI alliance nor the NDA alliance have, have increased production in our country. So can we expect from the India alliance, if it comes to power, can India alliance assure the youth of our country, like to increase production in our country and also to solve unemployment crisis in our country?
If you want to seriously start creating employment in the country, you have to transform the economic system of the country. I'll give you an example. You must have read recently that Bangladesh is doing better than India in textiles.
Yeah.
Have you heard this?
Yeah.
What do you think is one of the biggest reasons why India is failing in textiles? Textiles is huge jobs, simple and large numbers of jobs. But India is losing space. Why do you think it's losing space? If you see this shirt, it's made of cotton and it has something else.
Polyester?
Polyester. So in India, Reliance ensures that there is a import duty on polyester so that nobody other than Reliance can sell polyester in India. So Reliance is essentially strangling the textile market in India by saying, if you want to make clothes, the only polyester you can use is polyester that Reliance makes, right? And this has cost India, this simple one duty has cost India 1 crore jobs. The same thing Adani is doing in our airports. The same thing Adani is going to do with electric cars. So we have these large businesses, mainly Adani, Ambani, these 5-7 big businesses who are not interested in production. So if you want to have production in India, you got to carve a space out. And you got to say, actually, we are not going to allow Reliance to destroy the textile industry. We are not going to allow Adani to destroy the travel industry, right? So that's really the reason why we're not getting jobs. Big opportunity is coming, right? Because we are changing the way we move. You see that car there? Uska bonnet kholo zara. When you have an accident, this is what kills you, right? And the reason it kills you is that this thing, when it gets hit by something, has massive energy going backwards. So the entire car is designed to hold this engine in place and to stop the engine from flying into you and killing you. Yeah. I mean, why is this? They're teaching you all these fancy things. They're not teaching the most basic thing. There is an explosion taking place inside this engine every time you start it.
Oh.
Right? So if you start it, start karo. This. Now this is sounding not very loud, but actually this is a 4-cylinder engine. There are 4 cylinders. There's explosions taking place in this. Bar like that. This needs to be 300 kilos to control the explosion. Okay? Now, how does this run?
The fuel.
Fuel tank.
Yeah.
So here, there is another thing in the back.
Yeah,
which is also an explosive, right? Because if you don't separate that from the guys in the car and you have an impact, then they're going to either die with this or they're going to die with that. So the entire car is designed to make sure that these two things don't kill the passengers. Now, what happens when you have an electric motor? This centralized power suddenly becomes decentralized, right? Now you have one motor here, one motor there, One motor there and one motor there. When you have an accident, what happens?
Nothing happens.
Nothing happens. So what you've done is you've decentralized the engine. And because you've decentralized the engine, you've completely reshaped the car. Right?
And you don't need metals.
The amount of metal that will be used will drop completely. The structure will completely change. If you've noticed an electric car, there's no protection in the middle. The battery itself becomes the protection. What is actually happening is decentralization of power, right? That's exactly what a robot is. A robot is this divided into thousands. One motor here, 5 motors here, 5 motors here. And what is going to be the structure around what that is going to take place? It's going to be the battery, it's going to be the motor. And later when you have autonomous cars and autonomous drones and autonomous everything, what else do you need? You use your eyes to guide the car.
Yeah.
Now the car is going to develop eyes, which is autonomous driving. So what is happening is they're taking away control from you and giving control to this. So these are the technologies that now are going to become critical. That's what my speech was about.
Yeah.
So then the question is, okay, where does India fit into all this? That now we are going to move differently, right? So the politics is going to become that, right? So when you're imagining politics, you're saying, okay, so what would it look like if power was suddenly decentralized? What would policy look like? What would violence look like? What would war look like? Everything going to change. See, this is what I meant yesterday in my speech. This is what I meant yesterday in my speech, that we have to start taking this understanding to universities and colleges.
Yeah, sure.
What happens? What is the first thing that happens when a paradigm shift takes place? Politically, what happens?
Everybody will disagree, I think.
No, the first thing that happens is superpowers die, right? So the British power was built on steam. The moment we went to petrol, their entire architecture is built on steam and coal, and suddenly the new architecture is petrol, they die. Today, the United States, the West, and India's architecture is all built on petrol. We're in trouble. We have to quickly now start moving aggressively to that.
1, 2, 1.